Hello friends, it's Lo the Dawn. I am back with another video. First and foremost, disclaimer, y'all know I have animals, so if you hear them, we're just gonna keep it moving. But yeah, I'm back. I wanted to make a video actually on living in my projector design. Obviously, if you're on my page, you may have seen a video that I posted where I'm doing a projector experiment, and I'm gonna continue doing that. It is interesting. I have had a lot happen the past couple weeks since I have tried to adjust to asking the correct questions. I will admit I've had a struggle with my digestion and things like that, but that's for that video. This video, I'm actually going to be talking about past lives. So as a projector, I have a trouble sometimes identifying what knowledge I may have or things that I may be able to offer people, or even the videos to make. And I actually have had a few people ask me about this specific topic this week, and so I was like, okay, maybe this is something I can speak on or I have knowledge on that may benefit others. So that's what we're going to talk about. If you have heard of if you believe in past lives or you've heard of past lives, then you're right here with me. If you haven't, it is essentially the belief that our spirit can reincarnate. So after we die, we may come back, or we've had past lives, previously, and then so that have brought us to our current life. This is a belief in certain religions, of course, and so that's a topic that we can go down as well. But there's also kind of more modern versions of this belief as well that have taken shape. I am kind of I don't know, follower. I don't know what the right word would be for this, but I've read a few of Dr. Michael Newton's books, and I would like to get certified in past life regression eventually, or past life therapy, which is basically regressing you from your memories of your childhood back through the womb, back through your birth, through whenever where your consciousness was created, what previous lives you may have had, and your life between lives. Life between lives refers to obviously after you passed, when your energy goes back up into this realm. Words, sometimes it's hard for me to figure out the words, but back to your consciousness, your soul consciousness. I always say in the ethers, so in the ethers, for lack of a better word. That is where maybe you may take breaks, you may have to go through soul rejuvenation, soul cleansing, maybe learning. This is where a lot of people may reference the Akashic records, where there's collective soul conscious libraries that we may tap into whenever we're needing to do some studying on our past lives, others' past lives, and how those are inevitably intertwined. So pretty cool there. So to start, I kind of want to talk about why I got interested in this realm of things. I think I may have mentioned it in my first human design video, but I've had a few near-death experiences. So the first one was when I was a small kid, really when I was being born. As I was being born, they had to do some work to get me back to life. Obviously don't really remember that one, but that was probably my first experience, and I feel that may have just opened up some things for me as a child. I was always very intuitive and always it's interesting, I've always had feelings about things. So for example, the near-death experience that led me further into past life knowledge, my third near-death experience, it's so funny, had to do with my bone getting ripped out of my arm. And I can talk about that experience and what happened there and my surgeries and the pain and all of that in a different video if anyone cares about that, but that's a whole different topic. Yes, but it's interesting because as a kid, whenever we talk about our intuition or being born, they talk about, as in Dr. Michael Newton, people who, or regressionists, people who've studied this topic like extensively, reference us having amnesia. So when we're reborn after having died and studied and then coming back down, we may have amnesia, and so we don't necessarily remember our life purpose or certain things, but there may be little breadcrumbs throughout our life that end up leading to our life purpose or a specific event on our timeline. And I remember as a kid little breadcrumbs actually of me. There's like, if you can do it, I can't now, I'm disabled, but there's like a way that you can press like on a certain part of your, like that, like a part of your wrist, and it makes your fingers curl. And I remember as a kid, I would always be in class and just doing that and just doing that and just doing that, and obsessed with the way that my hand works, and always looking at drawings of hands and looking at like literal, like just always being obsessed with people's wrists and hands and things like that, and watches and rings. And I'm still very into that. I've got like a ring tan line right there. I always wear a specific ring, but I don't know, breadcrumbs. And then eventually, third NDE, I get my bone ripped out. I can actually no longer do that. So I think that was like the little me knowing at one point, you're not going to be able to do this again. And so I fixated on that as a kid. It was such a weird thing. Seriously, like if any of my like previous like teammates or anything like that is here, they can attest, or watches, like they can attest. I would literally just like do it on myself, do it to others. Like I was fixated on trying to make their fingers curl or trying to make their hands react because of how each tendon is interlaced or certain like things are connected in the hand. And now I, anyways, 6 or 5 surgeries later, here we are. So that's so funny because as a kid, I had breadcrumbs of this, and obviously other associations with death that made me wonder, what happens after. So yeah, when my third near-death experience happened, I do want to talk about what happened when I came out of my body. My animals are kind of playing over there, sorry. So I do want to talk about what happened after my third NDE, like what I saw and experienced, because after doing some research, I feel like it's very similar to what other like near-death experience survivors or people that have experienced it have also felt. And I feel like it's also kind of, Dr. Newton talks about this, but it kind of is like an overlap. There is a similarity between near-death experiences, actual death, of course, regression, and I feel like low-key even sleep. I don't think he mentions that, but even our sleep state, that's a topic for another day as well. But I think that, we sleep for a third of our lives, so naturally there's over a third of our lives, so there's some important things we're processing there as well in our subconscious, but different topic for a different day. But yes, in my near-death experience, it was so interesting because Dr. Newton talks about in his study of once people die, obviously like your return to your consciousness, for lack of a better word. I should have better notes. I have some, but more so about my speaking points rather than specific definitive words, like topic words. So I'll come back with those later if I remember to put them on the screen or anything, or maybe if anyone cares or sees this, we'll talk about it in the comments. But yeah. But it's so interesting because, like I said, whenever I had my near-death experience, my most recent one, when I came out of my body, it was very similar to what he explains as happening after death, literally, where you are almost like an orb or a ball of light. And I very much felt like that. What happened to me was I was out of my body. I could see the literal little 4x4, I don't know, I could see the little square of the room that I was in. And like almost like, when you play The Sims and you can like change the views, I was literally like the above view, like looking at the 2D almost, if that makes sense. It looked very 2D because I was like 5D. Everything looked so like flat almost, and I was just watching someone like tourniquet me, and I could only see like, I was almost looking in my body's eyes, and I was seeing the person that was tourniqueting me, like the back of their head. So it was very much out of my body. And I looked up, and it was almost as if I was like literally, in the ethers, so to speak, like in space, I guess. I don't know. And side note here, when I was having multiple surgeries, there was multiple times I would wake up from surgery and be like, I hear Saturn, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? And then they would play, because they would have to take a little like a radar to my wound to see if everything was transferring properly. They would like take it to hear the heartbeat, and it sounded almost exactly as what Saturn sounds like. So YouTube that, the sound of Saturn, that's what it sounded like inside my body and where I was at. Literally, I felt like I was on Saturn. So side note. But yes, no, anyways, I was out into this, it almost felt like space, literally. But the thing that is so interesting to me is they mention when you die, obviously there's a transition where you go back in through the light and you're greeted by people, and you do have that moment, of course, with maybe previous deceased loved ones. And even if they have already reincarnated, naturally you can still have a moment with them, because when we're born back into this life, we don't not necessarily bring 100% of our spirit, our soul. We leave a little bit of reserve. So there's always a tether back to spirit. So we come down, we live our lives here, we die, we go back. So when we have that meeting point is where we go through the light. I was up and out of my body, and it looked like a pinhole, like at a distance from me. But I literally felt like it would be like sludge to go, just like, not like sludge, but it felt so thick. Like I could, not literal sludge, but it was dark, and then there was like a light at the end of the tunnel, literally. And I was like, that is so far away. And I looked down, and I was like, I guess I'll just go back there since it's right there. So this is something that was very pivotal to me, because I was very conscious after the fact. Not in the moment, I don't think. Maybe in the moment I was. But I was very conscious of the fact that I made a choice to come back. So I felt like as though I was not done, or it was maybe more work to be done here that I could do, that I had more power over, than rather swimming all the way through to this next life. I felt like there was more to be done here, and could be done more efficiently. Like I needed to do that before moving on. Like I had to do that. So a key thing as well about past lives, of course, is that we are being reborn because we have things that we need to process, things we need to learn, things we need to implement for ourselves, as well as a collective consciousness for humans, for humanity, for our souls, not even necessarily humanity. Yes, humanity, but it's so much deeper than that, so So, because obviously humans are not the only animals, so topics for other days, guys. If anyone's listening or watching, we can talk about this. But yes, so it's very interesting to me, because I am hyper aware now of what it means to have free will, because in that moment I did make a choice to come back here. There was not there is at a certain point a council and things that we have to work through with our council and with our soul group, our soul tribe, things like that. But it is a very individualistic experience in terms of clearing out your karmic debt and working on your things, exercising your free will, and moving forward through these things, rather than like succumbing to them and deciding to skate through easy lives, or maybe even choose not to be reborn. It's possible to die, and then when you return, you're like, I don't want to go back, and you just choose to not be reborn and not work through some karmic debts and not work through some things here on Earth. So very interesting concept. Like I said, I've had a lot of people asking me about it the past few days. The correlation for me between like sleep, death, past life regression, and like near-death experiences in general is definitely our experience in the ether. I'm gonna have to get my definitive words at some point sounding a little better, but yes, our specific purpose is kind of blocked from us when we come back down here, because then it's like the question of better to have loved and lost, or to have not loved at all. Like if it's going to end, would you still have started? So we are brought back, we choose to come back, and we have this amnesia. We live throughout our lives maybe with these breadcrumbs. Like I said, I have many other versions of breadcrumbs. That one was specifically a physical one of how my small child brain, as I was born into this life, like the first 6, 7, 8, probably up till I was 12 years of my life, I was obsessed with people's arms and wrists and fingers and stuff like that. I always wanted to play with wrists and hold hands, and just interesting. And like I was always sucking my thumb, it's a different topic, but yeah, I had like a breadcrumb idea of maybe this is something that it's going to be a topic for me. Other intuitive things like emotional things were also a factor, but that's a physical one. I feel like a lot of our past lives leave physical imprints that we're not even necessarily aware of. So that is why I also would like to get certified in past life regression eventually, because it does feel like it could be something, you know, you died, broke your neck in your past life and you have chronic neck pain, you know, in this life, because there's some trauma to be worked through there of like a sudden death or an unexpected death and your spirit being jolted out of your body. And so even though you return back to your spirit here, you know, your human body does pass on and go away, but their spirit's still a soul imprint, you know, still a soul imprint. Your spirit has been, think of it as like liquid in a bottle, smoke, whatever, in a jar. It's like it's being your spirit has to fit into your human shell. So once it is released from it, it's like a pillow. You lay on a pillow for so long, you know, it gets an indent. Sometimes your spiritual body, like mine might have, when I die, it might have like a blockage in my left arm in my next life. I have to work through I'm really uncoordinated on my left or something, you know. It's just something like that. It's things like that we work through, we figure out. We get regressed, or we regress to try to call into our energy force and figure out from source what our purpose is so that we can move forward. So I feel as though I've been rambling, but I did want to put a little quote from the intro of Destiny of Souls here. Lots of quotes I could put, but this one, literally, I was just scrolling and just like looking through the book, before I started this video, and it just stuck out to me because if you know me, you know I have this thing about potential. If you're into science or whatever, you know there's potential energy and kinetic energy. Potential energy is energy that is almost like stored. It is not moving. It's not necessarily being used. Kinetic energy is energy in motion. So for me, potential energy is cool to have, maybe a little bit like your reserve. Always have a little potential in the back end, you know, your back pocket. But I like most energy to be kinetic. We need to be actually actively working towards something. If you're just letting your potential sit, it's wasted, right? And so I saw this and I was like, wow, love that. But the quote is, advancement through the taking of personal responsibility does not involve dominance or status ranking, but rather a recognition of potential. Not forced to participate is the note that I made right after that. You're not forced to participate because potential can be wasted. You can waste your potential, and just like I said, I had a choice to come back. You can make a choice to, in between lives, not come back. You can spend 30, 40, 100 years between being reincarnated back into this realm, into this world on Earth. Some people spend like 4 or 5 years, you know what I'm saying, up there doing some things, studying, and then come back down, try again, and like to do a lot more work in the flesh, you know what I mean? So all souls are different. You're not forced to participate, and I think that is so crucial, that quote. The advancement is through taking personal responsibility, whatever that may mean. If you take personal responsibility and you stay up there for 30 years, come back down for 10, stay up there for 30, come back down for 10, or you stay up there for 2, come back down for 50, stay up there for 2, come down for 70. However you choose to do it, that is your soul path. And however you, at the end of the day, choose to exercise your free will and try to understand your true purpose, is up to you, inevitably. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about past lives. Like I said, feel as though I've been rambling. I'm going on like 22 minutes. Obviously, I'm going to cut this, so it's really more going to be like 15, 16, 17 minutes. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, if you were here hanging out with me for a second, I appreciate you. I can expand on any of these topics or any of these things that I've talked about, and there are so many things that I haven't even spoken on yet in terms of past life regression, reincarnation, death, even like how souls can communicate through death, how we can cope with death, like just so many things. Yeah, anyway, so thanks for watching if you were here, and if you have any thoughts or comments or anything, please comment below. I would love to be able to ramble, rant, talk to any of you guys about this, because it's something I'm super passionate about, like I said. So please let me know if anything was new to you, or if you have anything that you can add to my knowledge for, or even sources to cite, or things that I can read to, you know, expand my knowledge myself. So yeah, thank you guys, and hope this helped. Have a great day.